who better than to talk about practical filmmaking than the man who wrote the book on it? Literally. Joe Wallenstein, the director of physical production here at the Southern California School of Cinematic Arts, is here with us right now. This is See You at USC. Stick around. Good evening. Welcome to See You at USC Thursday nights. I'm Josh Wu, and we've got Joe Wallenstein here, the director of physical production here at the Cinematic Arts School. Joe, it's a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you very much.
So you wrote the book on practical movie making, didn't you?
I did.
Yes, you can see right here.
Yeah.
A handbook for the real world. That's the way we like to think of it. And actually, you know, we have the trailer that you made for the book, and we're going to take a look at that actually right now. Let's have a look.
Hi, my name is Joe Wallenstein, and I am the Director of Physical Production here at the USC School of Cinematic Arts. Actually, in the amount of work we do, we are the largest studio in Hollywood. We make between 1,500 and 1,600 films a year. I'm here today because we're doing some photo art for my new book, Practical Movie Making, a handbook for the real world. Because it really doesn't matter whether you're making a 5-minute student film or a $50 million studio picture. The process of filmmaking is the same. This book will walk you through the whole process, from critical assumptions to the board, to the day out of days, to budgeting, finding and securing and managing locations, post-production, and something that could only be birthed in this industry, the concept of cinematic immunity. I hope you'll take my book with you wherever you go. Refer to it whenever you feel lost or overwhelmed. And remember, if Joe Wallenstein can do it, you can do it.
Well, if you take nothing else from this show, if Joe Wallenstein can do it, you can do it.
Do you know how much ribbing I have taken about that line?
Well, how much?
A couple of professors wrote me and said, really? If you could do it, I could do it? I wrote back, I said, if I could do it, anybody could do it.
I don't know about that. You're really good at what you do.
I've been at it a long time.
Well, how long is that, if you care to elaborate?
Well, let's put it this way. I went to NYU in the 60s.
Uh-huh.
The 1960s, not the 1860s.
well, we weren't going to go that far back, but all right.
So, yeah, I've been knocking around the business for a long time.
Yeah. So now, who'd you write this book for?
Well, I really wrote it for 3 audiences.
Uh-huh.
I wrote it for kids here at USC or at any film school who love film but are overwhelmed by the process, because the process in the school setting comes rushing at you. You learn editing, you learn cinematography, you learn writing, produce. So I wanted to take some of the anxiety out of that. I also thought it would be great for kids in their senior year of high school who aren't sure what they want to do. I was a late bloomer. When I was in high school, I had no clue what I wanted to do. So I think if this book had been around, I might have read it and said, gee, you know, I can do that. That seems interesting. And the third reason I wrote it is because I believe there are literally thousands of people who will never go to film school for any number of reasons. They don't have the grades, they don't have the money, they're some other reason, but they're interested in film. So why should they be shut out?
Mm-hmm. So it's like film school on the go almost.
Well, except for the fact I don't want to bite the hand that feeds me.
Well, that's true.
and you know, what the book doesn't talk about is the driving engine of all things entertainment. That's money.
Right.
I don't. If I knew how to raise the money it takes to make movies, I'd only make my own movies.
Right.
But it's what happens because there's a disconnect when you're in film school and you're making a movie with your own money or your parents' money or a loan, and it's either $5,000 or $25,000 or $50,000. That's one thing.
Yeah.
But when you go out into the professional industry and you have millions of somebody else's dollars at stake, the game is very different.
Oh yeah.
Very little margin for error. much more unforgiving. Your deadlines, you guys probably, you experienced that. You have to do a show at night. There's no, I showed up at 7 for a 6:30 show,
yes,
right?
Yes, well, 6:30, the switch goes on and we go out.
That's right.
Yeah.
So you understand that's, and that's the transition. Now, one of the cool things, the very coolest thing about USC is there are a lot of good film schools.
Oh, yeah.
But this is the one where we teach you to be professionals. Not only teach you to be professionals, but that's our mindset. We're not a guerrilla filmmaking school. We don't jump out of vans and take pictures of people, right? We're very much the gangplank to the industry.
Right.
Which is why we mirror the industry in the things we do. For example, it drives the kids here crazy. Why do we have to get permits? Permits. Well, the reason you get permits, there's several reasons, but one of them, from a teaching standpoint, is because that's what you're going to do when you get out of here in the business. So why not learn it?
Yeah, exactly. And also now, you're the director of physical production here at the School of Cinematic Arts. Could you tell us a little bit about what that means?
Sure. First of all, the Office of Physical Production is really an office of facilitation, right? How do you get permits? Help with locations, navigating the minefields of bureaucracy, equipment, actors, festivals and distribution, the whole panoply of what it takes to make a film. Most young filmmakers, in fact, not even some professionals, are A to C filmmakers. A, you have the idea. C, you could see the finished product in your mind. But the making of it is in the heavy lifting of B, getting from your idea to the screen, right? So my office helps kids do that, right? We have wonderful professors who'll teach them about cinematography or editing or writing, but at some point they have to come together as a group and go out into the world.
They actually got to do it.
And they actually got to do it.
Right. Are you more the role of sort of inspiring them to do, like, run off their ambition, or are you trying to say, well, it's a great idea, but here's what we...
What we say at the safety seminar is it's not our job to tell you what you can't do. It is our job to show you how you can do what you want to do safely or take it to the next level. For example, we have some incredible professors here that nobody even knows about. There's a gentleman here named Tom Anderson, older gentleman, great guy. Unless you take his class, you wouldn't know he was here. But he's a master at special effects. So, and this just happened recently. I got a call. I was on vacation. I was in Connecticut, and somebody said, "We want to simulate somebody snorting cocaine. What do we do?" And I said, "Well, I tell you what. A, you don't snort cocaine.
the most
B,
important part, right there.
Talk to Tom Anderson and see how you do it, because there is a way. You've seen it 1,000 times in the movies, and you're not even aware of it." So, and then the next question was, well, what substance could the actor snort that's not toxic? So, well, you can call around to pharmacists and they'll give you the answer. But what you don't know, and the pharmacist doesn't know, is the condition of the actor. And the nasal passages are very close to the brain. So there's not a lot of margin for error.
Right.
So we got into this protracted discussion of what substance, and they said, ultimately, it's not about the substance. Movies is all make-believe. It's all smoke and mirrors. It's making you think you saw something that you didn't actually see. You think you saw it, looked like it, sounded like it, but it didn't actually happen the way you saw it.
Right.
So, and that, for me, that's part of the great fun. Oops, sorry, sorry, guys.
Don't worry about it.
Somebody just fell out of their chair. Sorry.
No, they're more concerned about me whenever I go off on a big laughing fit, and then they're just like, "Oh God, there goes the sound person's ear again." But no, don't worry about a thing. But what I did want to ask is one of the more, you've overseen, like you said in the trailer, 1,500, 1,600 films go out per year here at USC. Over so many years. That's a lot of films.
Over 14,000 without a single serious accident. No other school matches that record.
Well, thank goodness. But obviously with that many films, there obviously must be some common things that you get in your office, common questions that must arise.
The thing that comes up most is, I guess it's an age thing or an inexperience thing. But in film, if you leave things to the last minute, there's only one way to fix them, and that's with money. So what I see a lot is kids coming up at late looking for a permit or a location, or they lost an actor and they're frantic and they don't know what to do. So part of our job is to calm them down and say, look, the audience will only know what you show them.
Right.
right? So, I mean, if I was supposed to be here singing and dancing on this table, and you never shot that, the audience wouldn't know that's what I was supposed. You only know what they see. So it's getting the kids to understand. You know, do the best you can, do it for the price. You know, but I want to clarify something. Those 15,000 shows are not all feature-length motion pictures.
Right.
Some of them are 5-minute in-class exercises, all the way up through the thesis projects. But as I point out in the video and in the book, the process is the same. You need actors, you need equipment, you need a crew, you need locations or the stage. You got to edit it. You're going to put sound to it. So that it doesn't really matter how big or how small. You still have the same process.
Right.
You know.
And you know, add it in because you know you mentioned something about the last minute, and students are very prone to doing that all the time. So you got to manage all the stuff that goes into the film, and then they have to manage their other classes as well.
That's right. And that goes to the question of the stress.
Yeah.
You know,
there must be a lot of it.
There's
too.
a lot of stress, and I see it, and it sits across from me every day, 5, 6, 8 times a day, and I really started to feel, gosh, if I'm going to do anything here, my greatest asset, because I've done everything that they want to do or are going to do. Why should they have that stress if I could relieve that stress?
Yeah. So you're a bit more of a counselor as well.
Sometimes they'll come to me with sometimes they don't get on with their crewmates, they don't know how to navigate something. Difficult that they know that the director or the cinematographer is breaking one of our rules. They don't want to be held accountable, but they don't want to turn on their own. How do we navigate it? So it's a lot of working through process. It isn't as cut and dry as, you know, you stepped over the line, you did something. It's not like that. It's because a lot of it, you're supposed to make mistakes here.
Yeah.
That's
something,
how you
something
learn.
we here on the show cannot do.
Well, but you learn from mistakes.
Right. Right.
And so if the kids get really tense about, oh my God, I did this, I did that, great, that's great, you know. I was telling you that story a minute ago. I don't know if you want to revisit it, but about the young lady with the cougar up in Washington.
Yeah, yeah.
She came to see me when the show was over, and she said, I just had the worst 2 weeks of my life. I said, no, actually, you didn't. You had the best 2 weeks of your life because you learned. Because that was one of those shows where everything that could go wrong went wrong.
Yeah.
I said, you survived it, right? I said, you're a much better filmmaker today. Because if I had just told you about all those things, you wouldn't feel it. Now you've lived it. You won't make some of those mistakes again.
Right. And just so the viewers at home know, there was a cougar, like a real live cougar involved.
I don't know. I hope, this is why I was asking you about appropriate or not appropriate. Thesis project comes to me, and they say to me, we want to shoot in Washington State with a cougar.
Oh, no.
And my first reaction was, you got to go to Washington? There's no 40-year-old women in L.A.
Well, hold that thought for just a second. We got to take a quick break. Back with that story.
Howard,
I know. Back with that story and more after this. See you in 2 minutes.
Is that bump for you?
Well, it's not that I'm a coward. The clock.
President Abbas applied on September 23rd for full UN membership. What's likely the next step in the saga of this conflict? Abbas.
And Abbas.
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 Hamas.
Abbas.
Hamas.
Abbas. Hamas. Abbas. Hamas.
Like Hamas.
Abbas. Hamas. Abbas has Hamas. 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 No, Hamas. Hamas is Hamas.
Like Hamas.
We haven't gone in a circle, but we've discussed a lot of important points. It's been a great discussion, and we've come to some great conclusions. That wraps up our show for tonight, and we'll see you next time on Platform Politics. Abbas!
This is like a recipe for success.
Cheers.
3, 2, 1.
Watch the list. Thursday,
11:30.
11:30.
Welcome back to See You at USC on Thursday nights. Joshua back here with Joe Wallenstein. We're going to get back to talking with him in just a minute. But before we do that, if you'd like to ask us any questions, ask Joe any questions, you can email us at cu@trojanvision.com, or you can follow us on Twitter at CU@USC, and we'll tweet you all the latest updates. So we were talking before the break about a student who...
They wanted to use a cougar, a real cougar.
A real live cougar.
Well, it's a pretty big animal, and I thought, how are you going to do that? I mean, is it trained? Oh, yeah, it's trained, and the owner is going to, it's on a velvet leash, and it won't get close to the actor. I said, what are you going to do about the leash? Well, we'll paint it out. Well, that's expensive. Are you sure this thing is trained? We go around and around and around. I get letters from the trainer. I get a letter from the actor. I get a letter from the insurance company. We do the whole thing. They go up to Washington.
And this was a thesis project.
This was a thesis project. And the day they were supposed to start, my phone rang, and the same girl says to me, we have a problem. I said, what's the problem? She says, the cougar just went into heat.
Oh, no.
She says, what do I do?
Oh, no.
Again, I'm sorry. I said, well, whatever you do, keep it away from the grips. I was trying to get her to laugh. She would not laugh. So I backed off.
If it had been me on the other line, I would have been laughing my head off like I just did.
She didn't think that was funny. Okay, so I backed off. I said, look, I don't really know. I'll call the American Humane. So I called the American Humane Society, and it turns out it's 8 days, which is a great question for trivia. How many days does it go?
A little cross promotion, we thought. Mind games tomorrow morning, 11:30. Be there, be square. Anyway, back to this.
She calls back. We can flip the schedule. We can outweight the cougar, and we'll shoot the cougar on the last day. That's great. That's great. Problem solved. 2 weeks goes by. She calls me. She goes, we have a problem. So what's the problem? She says, well, the cougar's out of heat, but it don't want to work.
Oh, no.
It's too low. It won't come out of its cage.
Oh, no.
So what do I do? I said, well, I'm thinking, what do you do? And then she says to me, you know, the guy has a very cute raccoon up here. I said, perfect, shoot it. So after all that, going up to Washington State to shoot this monster tiger cougar, they shot this little raccoon.
Little old bandit. Oh, man.
So that's what goes on in my world.
Sometimes you just got to roll with these kinds of things.
Yeah, but it was funny, but that was the derivation. She came back and said I had the worst 2 weeks of my life. I said, no, actually you didn't. You learned a great deal.
Yeah. And you get funny stories that you can laugh about over drinks later.
Absolutely. Oh, it's always funnier after.
Yeah. You suffer through it first, and then you can laugh about it later. That's what we like to do here. But besides film, you have experience with the television world as well. You were a producer for, I understand, the first few episodes of Seventh Heaven.
First 2 years.
First 2 years.
It was about 44 episodes, I think. Yeah, it was the first producer. I did several shows for Aaron Spelling.
Yeah.
I did Hotel, I did Malibu Shores, and then Seventh Heaven.
Yeah, there was a funny story you were telling us before the show about Seventh Heaven. Was that not?
At 9 o'clock at night, the night before we were starting to shoot, we had no lead actor.
Oh no!
We had a 6 a.m. call and no star of the show, and at 11 o'clock they closed the deal on Stephen Collins, and he caught the red eye to L.A. and showed up. But I remember thinking, boy, that takes guts to greenlight a show and go forward, and you don't have your lead actor. But Aaron was, one of a kind. And it was also a very atypical show in its day, right? Because television's all squealing tires and gun battles and macho, and here comes this very gentle family show. And out of that show, actually one of them, David Gallagher, went here to school. Jessica Biel became a big star, international star. And the other one, she's going to hate me. I can't remember her name. Beverly, I can't think of her last name. She's a really sweet kid. Her career is starting to take flight.
Yeah. Interesting there. Now, what's the difference between, because there's a lot of people who make the jump between television and film, or film and television, vice versa. What's the biggest difference between those two media?
There's two very big. Let me start by how they're the same.
Yeah.
They use cameras. In those days, they use film. Now they're digital. They edit. They use actors. They go on location. They build sets. So they're the same, right? But a motion picture can be any length. It's contractual with the distributor. And it could cost anything. And if you go over, theoretically, you can make money at the box office. Now, in today's world, when there is multi-platforming and shelf life, you can recoup. Television is a prescribed time at a fixed price. If you go over it, you must deficit it. It's not so easy to recoup. The time requirement is that you shoot a show in 7 or 8 days, and a movie can be 60 days.
Right.
So it's different kind of pressure.
Yeah. There's so many different things. Because I mean, I'm just sitting here doing this live show, and you're kind of scaring me a little bit for the. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore.
You have to like pressure.
Oh yeah. I just felt it right there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as I was telling you in the green room or whatever you call that other room, I was terrified. I did this at NYU. Terrified. I don't know how you guys do a live show. I mean, that is the scariest thing. Movies, you get to do take 2, 6, 10, 12, 40, right? Right. You get to edit out your mistakes, you know. You have people covering up your zits and your scars. and
not here. You see this? This is all natural right here.
What you see is what you get.
What you see is what you get. And it's been this way for 15 weeks. You better believe it. God, even I'm picking up the New York accent now. Jeez.
I'll do that to you.
Yeah.
Although most of the time when I call somebody, they say to me, where's that accent from? Are you from Australia? I go, yeah, Australia. We're on Flatbush Avenue. I can't. If I go home to New York, it sounds like I never left.
We were also talking a little bit in the green room about how different places you've gone over film shoots and whatnot, and you actually got to go home to New York for one of them.
I did. They sent me back to New York to do a series with a wonderful lady named Jay Presson Allen. She wrote Prince of the City, and she was one of the creators of Family, and she was a tough old bird, and we just got on great. I was a little intimidated by her, and she was a little intimidated by me, and it made for perfect chemistry. But they sent me home, and they gave me per diem, because after New York's an expensive place. But they didn't calculate that I was from New York. Never paid for a meal, never paid for a hotel room. I made out like a bandit.
Oh yeah,
But that show, had that show gone, my entire career would have been different, because Jay, who was all about the writing, did not like physical production. And she said to me, if this show, we only did about 8 episodes, she said, if this show goes, because I'm never going to leave my apartment, I'm just going to deal with the writers. This is your show. And it would have been, one of a kind to have that. But my destiny lay out here.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Now, backtracking a little bit to back to USC. You've been in the business for a long time, like you've said earlier on, and in that span of time, you've gone from film to digital, and the industry's still growing. What do you think of this whole going from film to digital business?
Well, look, I'm an old dog. I like film.
Yeah.
But the thing about digital is, for me, it's almost too clear. Like we were saying before, HD looks right through the makeup.
Right.
I like the texture. I like the distance between the audience and the actor that film created. Now, because I like it, is that the way to film? No, it's going to be digital.
Right.
And I was telling you, we were meeting with some people from Sony, and the cameras keep getting better and better and more intricate, and that's where it's going. Yeah. The thing that's changed in my lifetime that's interesting is that word multi-platforming.
Right.
When I first started, if you made a movie, it played in the theaters. When it ran its cycle, it was gone. Right. If you made a television show, it played on the 3 networks, and that was it. If you were really lucky, it went to syndication. Now, they don't make a movie if they can't do the game and the merchandise and the
Put
TVs.
it on Netflix.
Yeah, exactly.
Or what was it, Quickster for a little while before that went by the wayside?
Yeah. So the business model has changed, and I would imagine, because of webisodes, when they really start to monetize webisodes, that will be an outlet. What the electronics have done is they've democratized the business.
Yeah.
Anybody can get into it. Now, fortunately for guys like me and for you and for the people around, content is king.
Oh, yes.
If you don't have an interesting story to tell, it doesn't matter what the capture is, right?
Yeah.
So, but I think because, in the old days, camera was $1 million. You had to go to a studio. Now you can get a camera for $5,000, $6,000, $8,000, and if you want to tell your story, you can do it.
Right.
It's opened it up to a lot of people.
Yeah, and I'm a journalism student, and we had a discussion a while back about how journalism used to be one of these things that only the professionals, the reporters, they went out and did it, and now it's like any old person with a camera, they have cameras on their phones,
Right.
Digital cameras, just they sell wherever. You can do it.
Right.
The possibilities are endless.
It has certainly changed the world. It's even changed parts of our legal system, as you see with the whole thing about can you photograph a police officer in the line of his or her duty. Anytime there's change, there are good and bad unintended consequences.
Yeah.
I think on balance, all of this new technology is great because it brings more young minds into the game.
Mm-hmm. And ultimately, a lot of it's also a time-saving thing and a cost-cutting measure.
Oh, absolutely. A couple of years ago, I was up at NAB, National Association of Broadcasters, in Las Vegas. And the thing that struck me was with the LED lights and the lighter equipment, that it had not only a time but a financial ramification. Lighter equipment means less people to carry it. Less people to carry it means fewer people put up in hotels on location.
Right.
And so the ripple effect of some of that stuff had a real impact on what it costs to make films.
Right, right. Do you ever wish sometimes that the technology is just coming too fast? You just wish it would stop.
It does for me, because what I know about technology, on the back of my computer there's a button. If you push it once, it goes on. When you push it again, it goes off. And if I have to do anything else, I have to call somebody to help me. Thank God I have all these young minds around me, and these guys, you do, I'm sure, eat, sleep, and breathe computers and
Oh
stuff.
gosh,
Not
do
me.
we ever? I mean, I'm an RA in one of the dorms here on campus, and I see kids all the time. I'm walking the halls when I'm on rounds. I see people, the doors open. They're on their computer almost all the time.
Well, I'll tell you an interesting thing, because I saw it for the first time. I teach a class, episodic producing, 1 hour, single camera episodic producing. And for the first time, I've seen what I think is the result of kids buried in their computers.
And that is?
It stilts their communication skills.
Uh-huh.
And I've always thought it was an abstract, old people say that because they don't want that, they begrudge the younger generation. But this one semester I've seen it firsthand, and I can't blame it on that. I'm just starting to wonder if that's a possibility.
Well, it could be, but that's why I do live TV, to keep myself up on these communication skills. So that's why I'm not one of them.
Well, this is the purest form of communication. You can't hide behind take 6.
Nope.
So
this is take 1, and you know what? We have to wrap up take 1 because we're pretty much out of time.
Oh
yeah.
my goodness, this
That
went
one,
very fast.
It does go very fast. I'm amazed week after week. It's week 15 now. You would think I would have gotten used to it by now. But Joe, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so
It was
much.
great.
Yeah.
And thank you for joining us. We hope you'll see us right here at CUAC next week at 6:30. See you then. Bye-bye.